You've been in a room full of people and somehow still felt completely alone. Not because you're broken, not because something's wrong with you, but because your brain, it doesn't work the way theirs does. And today that ends, because this video is going to explain exactly why. If you're someone who replays conversations hours after they ended, if you lie awake at 2 a.m., not because you're sad, but because a thought just won't leave, if you've ever been called too sensitive, too serious, or too much, then you're about to feel deeply, deeply seen. Most people will scroll past this, but you won't, because somewhere in that brain of yours, something already knows this is about you. There's a name for what you are. It's not a disorder, it's not a flaw, it's a wiring. And today we're going to talk about 9 habits that only deep thinkers will actually recognize in themselves. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you. Thinking deeply is actually uncomfortable. It's not glamorous. It's not some superpower people show off at dinner parties. Most of the time, it feels like a burden. Your brain is constantly processing, not just what happened, but why it happened. Not just what someone said, but what they meant. Not just the surface of a moment, but the 10 layers beneath it. And the world was not built for that kind of mind, so you've spent years either hiding it or apologizing for it. And I want to change that today, because what you're about to hear might be the first time someone's explained your own behavior back to you in a way that actually makes sense. Let's start with habit number 1. Habit 1. You can't do small talk. Not really. When someone asks, "How are you?" you have to physically stop yourself from giving the real answer. Because the real answer is layered and complicated and, let's be honest, nobody asked for all that at the office coffee machine. Psychologists call this a need for cognitive depth. Your brain is wired to seek meaning in every interaction. Surface-level conversation actually causes a low-level stress response. It's not rudeness, it's biology. Your nervous system is quietly asking, but what does this mean? So, you've become a master of either going too deep too fast or saying nothing at all. Sound familiar? Habit 2. You absorb other people's energy like a sponge. You walk into a room and you immediately feel it. The tension between 2 people who just argued. The sadness the person across from you is hiding behind their smile. The subtle shift in someone's voice when they say they're fine. This isn't imagination. Research on mirror neurons shows that highly empathic individuals actually experience a kind of neural echo. Your brain physically mirrors the emotional state of those around you. You're not being dramatic. Your brain is literally absorbing the room. And the downside, you leave social situations exhausted in a way other people don't understand. Because while they were just having lunch, you were processing 12 invisible emotional currents simultaneously. Habit 3. You overthink decisions. Even small ones. Do you know what deep thinkers are really doing when they can't decide where to eat, or which email subject line to use, or what to say in a text? They're running simulations. Your brain is quietly wargaming every possible outcome, every response, every consequence. Neuroscientists call this hyper-future projection. And it's actually a sign of a highly active prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, consequence mapping, and complex reasoning is just always on. The problem is, it doesn't shut off when the stakes are low. So yes, you've spent 40 minutes thinking about a 2-sentence text, and yes, that's exhausting. But that same mechanism, it's also why you're one of the few people who can actually think 3 steps ahead. Habit 4. You have a complicated relationship with silence. Most people fill silence. They talk, they scroll, they turn on background noise. But sometimes you need silence, the way other people need air. And other times, silence is where you get lost. Because in the silence, the thoughts come. And they don't come one at a time. They come in waves. Here's the psychological twist. Deep thinkers often have a higher default mode network activity. This is the part of your brain that activates when you're not doing anything, when you're staring out a window or lying in the dark. For most people, it hums quietly. For you, it's basically a full-time job. You don't just daydream. You build entire worlds in there. You solve problems that haven't happened yet. You have arguments with people who aren't in the room. You write speeches you'll never give. That's not anxiety. That's an overclocked imagination. Habit 5. You feel things longer than other people do. Something happens. Maybe a small thing. Maybe something someone said. And while everyone else has moved on, you're still sitting with it 3 days later, turning it over, looking at it from different angles. This is called emotional residue. Your brain doesn't just process an emotion and release it. It stores it, examines it, tries to extract meaning from it, like a scientist who refuses to leave the lab until the results make sense. And the beautiful irony, this is exactly why you grow faster than most people. You don't just feel things, you learn from them. Every emotion is data. Every wound becomes wisdom, eventually. Habit 6. You're drawn to questions with no easy answers. Other people ask, what should I have for dinner? You ask, what kind of person do I want to be in 10 years, and are my daily choices aligned with that? Okay, maybe not out loud, but the questions are there, constantly. Deep thinkers have what researchers call a high need for cognition, a genuine intrinsic motivation to think, not because you have to, because something in you needs to understand. The unanswered question physically bothers you. The incomplete idea nags at you like a song you can't remember the end of. This is why you love documentaries at midnight, why you fall into Wikipedia rabbit holes at 1 a.m., why a casual "I wonder why" from you somehow turns into 3 hours of research. Habit 7. You're hard on yourself in a way most people don't see. You hold yourself to a standard that would exhaust anyone. And here's the thing. You don't really talk about it, because deep thinkers are also usually private about their inner world. You've learned that most people don't want to hear the full depth of what's happening inside you. So you carry it, quietly, and you replay your mistakes with a precision and intensity that borders on self-punishment. But here's a reframe that might change something for you. Your inner critic exists because you care deeply about who you are. It's a misapplication of your greatest strength, your ability to reflect. The goal isn't to silence it. The goal is to redirect it. You're not failing. You're evaluating. And the two feel identical from the inside. Habit 8. You're drawn to people who are real, even if they're broken. You'd rather have one conversation that actually means something than spend an entire evening performing happiness with people who are doing the same. Deep thinkers are allergic to inauthenticity. Your brain is wired to detect it. Incongruence between what someone says and what they actually feel registers almost immediately. This is why you've always had a small circle. Not because you're antisocial, because you've set a standard, maybe unconsciously, that most people don't even know is there. You want people who are willing to be real, and real is rare. Habit 9. You've always felt slightly out of place, everywhere. Not in a dramatic way, just a low, constant hum of, I don't quite fit here. At school, at work, sometimes even at home. And the twist, that feeling isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that your brain is operating at a frequency that most environments aren't calibrated for. Gifted education researchers have studied this for decades. Individuals who think more deeply often experience what they call existential loneliness. Not loneliness from lack of connection, but loneliness from depth of perception. You see more, you feel more, and the world, quite simply, isn't always ready for that. But here's what I want you to sit with. Every single person who has ever changed something, every writer, philosopher, scientist, artist who left something behind that mattered, felt exactly the way you feel right now. Slightly displaced, too much, out of step. That's not the problem. That's the point. Here's what nobody ever told you about thinking too deeply. It's not a defect dressed up as a gift. It actually is the gift. Raw, unpolished, inconvenient, exhausting, and real. The same brain that keeps you up at night with spiraling thoughts is the brain that feels joy more completely than most people ever will. The same sensitivity that makes you absorb a room's tension is the sensitivity that lets you love with a depth that takes people's breath away. You weren't given a difficult mind. You were given a powerful one, and nobody warned you how much power costs. The anxiety, the overthinking, the exhaustion. Those aren't bugs. They're the price of admission to a way of experiencing the world that most people never get access to. And the work, the actual, lifelong work, is not learning to think less. It's learning to carry it better. If you recognize yourself in even 3 or 4 of these, you're not overthinking it. You actually are a deep thinker. And that matters, not because it makes you special in some abstract way.
But because the world needs people who won't stop at the surface, who ask the harder question, who sit with the uncomfortable feeling long enough to learn something from it. The world is full of people who are great at moving fast. It desperately needs more people who know how to go deep. So the next time someone tells you you're too much, remember this: the ocean isn't too deep, the universe isn't too vast, and you aren't too much. You're just not shallow, and there's a profound difference. Well, loose. If this video felt like someone finally put words to something you've carried for a long time, I'm really glad it found you. Subscribe if you want more of this, because the next video goes somewhere even deeper. We're going to talk about why deep thinkers often self-sabotage the things they want most, and the psychological reason is something almost nobody talks about. I'll see you there.